Check 1, 2.
Go! Curious about real estate? Yes! Then you've come to the right place. Get the knowledge you need. Get over the fear and get started. This is the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show with your host, Michael Quarles.
Hello, everybody. Michael Quarles with Podcast 15. On today's show, I am talking with a guy who, now get this, 2 years and 3 months ago, he started in the real estate investment business as a wholesaler. He has since added to his arsenal flipping and wholesaling. So he's a wholesaler, and flipper. In 2 years and 3 months, they have bought 67 houses. This year alone, he's going to close this year on pace to do 50 transactions. 50, little over 2 years in the business. His name is Sam Craven, and he's out of Houston, Texas. Welcome to the show, Sam. Tell me about yourself.
My name is Sam Craven. I run a company called Senate House Buyers out of Houston, Texas. I run that property with my dad. He's my business partner. I quit my job in February of this year, finally, to focus on the business full time. My dad and I started the business back in July of 2012.
So you and your dad are business partners. That is probably one of the most unique things, because most people say, I want to get away from my family, and I don't want to have them tell me what to do anymore. How does that work out for you folks?
Well, Michael, frankly, the struggles that exist when you have a partner are quite unique. And then when you add on to the fact that partner is a family member and your father, the struggles are even more unique. But at the same time, the partnership is incredibly strong. No one's going to have your best interest at heart better than family. So it can all be worked through, I guess is the best thing to say. It's a lot of hard work, but then the payoff is grand.
And did either of you know, or did one of you know more about the real estate investment world than the other, or did you go into this equal from a knowledge perspective?
So we both went into this pretty blind, I guess is the best way to say it. I kind of happened into real estate investment by accident when I bought my first house, and that kind of piqued my interest. And I kind of started going through the process, learning about the business, how can I get started, do I want to wholesale, started asking all those basic questions, and then started talking to him about it, and it just so happened he was between consulting jobs at the time, and right around February or March, really kind of said, maybe we should give it a try as a partnership, and in July we filed the LLC and headed on down the road. And
that was in 2012, so that was 2 years and like 3 or 4 months ago.
Right.
What was, so the last half of 2012, what was that like? Did you buy any houses?
Yeah, I think we bought 3 houses that year. Our tax return showed a loss for the year, which I think is more than understandable. Our first house we ever bought was actually, Michael, you helped us do. You helped us do the direct mail for, and then once we got it under contract and had no idea what was going on, you talked to us on the phone on Sunday and kind of worked us through it, and we actually turned what was going to be a wholesale deal with about $5,000 in a profit into a wholetail deal with about $25,000 in profit. So, but that year we did 3 deals. I think that wholetail, 1 wholesale, and then 1 flip that we did with owner finance, which was our first full rehab flip that didn't sell until January. So yeah, those first 6 months I would say were a pretty big struggle. Spending money on marketing, not always getting the results that we wanted. I think anytime you start a business like that, though, you're going to have struggles. You're going to second guess yourself, especially as new to the business as we were.
Were you ever close to saying, well, we can't do this, it's not going to work for us, we need to go and do something else?
Absolutely not. Yeah, absolutely not. Because I wish I could say that it got easier after that first 6 months, and that's just not the case. When you're running a business like this that is doing what we're doing, you can't let something like that get you down and say, oh, screw it, I can't do this anymore. Right. You have to stay so positive with it, and you have to work so hard, and the hard work does not stop. The big checks come, and the hard work doesn't stop. It doesn't get any easier. Right. I think that's Pretty important distinction to make. I'm glad you asked that question.
Now, you still had a job, so this was a secondary job for you in 2012. Was it a secondary job for your father as well?
No, he was able to go into the business and be full time. I was in a unique position where I was a territory sales manager for a company not based where I live in Houston. So my time was my own, so to speak. So long as I was taking care of the duties responsible for me with my job, if I needed to leave in the day and go visit a seller or go meet with a contractor or do some marketing or what have you, I was well within my realm to do that. So that definitely helped. But Robert was in the business full time, and I was in the business part time then.
Being a guy that has been in partnerships, I understand the struggle of the partnership from a perspective of who finances the partnership, how do the partners get paid, how do you split profit, all those kinds of things. How did you work through that? I mean, if you had a full-time job doing something and your father, this was his full-time job, how did you structure all that, if you can even say? Did you guys set the ground rules up from the beginning? Did you work on those as things went along, as you started seeing what the income potential is? How did you orchestrate all that stuff?
I think that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, that no one has your best interest at heart better than family. Because my income needs when we started the business were, with my full-time job, non-existent. So when we started the business, my dad took a salary and I didn't. And as we've progressed, it's not been about, we're both focused on the success of the business. We want to continue to grow, and we want to continue to grow fast. And instead of us focusing on how much we can take out of the business cash-wise, it's been how much can we grow this business and put money back into the business. So the question has never been about, how do we split profits? How do we pay ourselves cash now? How can we afford to go out and buy a new car and those kinds of things? It's about what's best for the business and what's best for the partnership. All those things come in due time. And even though we could go off and spend ridiculous amounts of money on things that are not necessary, we choose to focus on growing the business and spending money on the business. And that looks like a lot of different things. But most importantly, it's going to be showing stability to banks so we can get access to cheap financing and going after larger projects that would not be open to us if we weren't so aggressive with growing the business and improving the business's cash position.
So you set your business model up so where it was a business, so at some point you probably drew an income from it, and your dad was drawing an income from it, but that it was an exorbitant amount. You left money into the business that you could, as much as you could, so you could grow the business, which is what all business does, by the way. All real businesses do. They don't drain themselves every time something happens good or something good that happens. So you set your business up. You did 3 deals in 2012. How many in 2013?
I think we did 28 in 2013.
So you went from a half a deal a month to 2.25 deals a month.
Exactly. Yeah, and last year I think we purchased about $2.5 million in real estate and sold about $1.8 million. If that makes sense. If there's kind of an overlap there.
Sure. So I'm still trying to get my head around. You went from a half a deal a month, because I think this is an important aspect for a lot of people that are listening, that you went from, first of all, not doing anything, that you went from 0 to half a deal in 6 months. And then the next 12 months, you went from a half a deal to 2.25 deals. How did you do that? What was the significant thing that, what turned that light on? How did you go from a half to 2.25?
That's kind of a difficult question it's just kind of a difficult question. I think the best thing that worked for us, there was never any question in our mind that we wouldn't get there. We knew we would get there. Well, we didn't know exactly how to get there. So it was kind of like, for us, it was staying focused, realizing what the business needed, which was marketing dollars, trying to figure out how to market effectively and bring in those leads. And then it came into, okay, how do we better ourselves at converting these leads? And then, it just kind of goes down the line on, we have to work on A, B, and C to improve our business. So to be able to make that jump, I think, was taking a little bit of the profits that we made in the beginning and just recycling and putting them back into marketing, turning them into more and more and more deals, which is something we continue to do.
Was there ever a point where you guys sat there and you go, okay, we're going to go spend, $10,000 or $20,000 or $50,000 in marketing, and we're not certain that we're going to get that return to us? Was there ever that time that you really questioned whether or not marketing worked?
Yes.
How'd that feel?
It is. In fact, terrible. It feels awful. And it's something that even now, as we venture into new types of marketing, those are the risks that we have to assume when we do something like that. And frankly, it's exciting. It's exciting now. It was terrifying then because of how much working capital we had. But it's something that I think everyone who's getting started in this business has to realize, that being scared and not understanding what you're doing are not good reasons to not do something. You have to step outside your comfort zone, take that leap of faith, do as much research as you can, but at some point it's just time to go out there and just start doing, because fear and being scared are just all part of it.
Well, I always use Roger Bannister as an example of a very successful thing, and when he ran the sub 4 minute mile, and he was the first one in recorded history, and it was a good thing, and everybody looked at him like a hero. And the next year, like 22 or 23 people did the same thing. So for those 22 or 23 people, they could see that somebody else did it. They knew it could be done, so they did everything that Roger did the year before, probably. They probably exercised like he did, and his workout routine, and slept and ate and all those things the same way that he did, so they could duplicate his experience. Did you have that? Did you have that thing that you could look at and say, well, XYZ company is doing this, if we just mimic them? Or did you go out there very blindly forward and hoped it worked? Did you have guidance? Did you have something that you could see performing that you mimicked, or did you create all this from scratch and on your own?
We had a lot of help. Michael, you helped us some. People definitely helped. We did everything we could to get in front of as many successful people as we could for that reason. Because with this business, we weren't breaking any new ground. We weren't doing anything that had never been done before. It was a pretty well-beaten path. So we did everything we could to research our competitors, to research people who were further along than us, to talk to them, to have lunch with them, and learn as much as we could. So I think the distinction you made is pretty important. As soon as someone realizes that it's not impossible and sees someone else to do it, all of a sudden the process gets a lot more simple.
I always look at things and go, okay, the last great invention was probably like the wheel, and everything from that has just been, a knockoff, and here we are with computers and telephones. So, but there's a lot of truth to that. So we, so we're not going out there and creating something brand new for ourselves. And, they always, there's an expression that people use that if you want to be successful, just go do what a successful person does. You can't do half of it and expect the same result. You have to do all of it. So having those lunch meetings and having those conversations and those phone calls, I think is a great tool to succeed in business and help you succeed in business. So you did 28 deals. Now, how much, if you don't mind saying, what did that represent per deal from a transactional basis or a net profit basis?
$25,000, $30,000 or so.
Okay. Like my number last year, the last 12 months, I should say, has been right at that $27,000 transaction. So if I bought a house for X, I knew I was going to get X plus 27,000 from a net number. If I multiply 28 times 25, you guys did pretty well. You 28 deals, 28. Let's assume for a second they were $25,000 per deal net. That's a pretty good number, especially your first 12 months. I guess your first calendar 12 months in business. How much of that did you put back into marketing?
Last year we spent about $85,000, $90,000 in marketing.
So 85 to 90,000 in marketing, and so that would be, is that 15% roughly, somewhere around 15% of your income went back into marketing?
Yeah.
And that's about average. That, if you look at mainstream business, you're going to find that between 8 and 12% month in and month out, they're going to spend on their marketing budget. And so having a brand new business that's less than 18 months old, that's not bad at all. In fact, I bet you're seeing revenue this year was caused by advertising dollars that you spent last year, I imagine.
Absolutely. I mean, when we started this year, I think our backlog of properties was $1.5 million, and last year our backlog of properties was 0. So right. It definitely helps when you're able to build the funnel like that to build your business. I mean, our backlog now is well over twice what it was at the beginning of the year, which is just how we like it, and I'd like to see it be even more than that, and that's what we're working towards. So
we're 9 months into 14. How many deals have you done this year so far?
I think we've done about 36 so far this year. But what's interesting is, so we haven't seen a huge jump in our deal flow over last year. I mean, obviously, I'd like for us to see even more deal flow, but our profitability's gone up this year per deal. We seem to be getting larger rehab projects, which we love, and then we've got a good amount of the wholesale deals that we do as well. And then also our cost for financing has gone down as well this year, and that's all been a part of our efforts to improve our business.
The rule that when you don't need the money becomes cheaper. And so the more money you make, the more money you can put back in your business, the more profitable your business is, the more financially stable the business is, the cheaper the money gets. So you're doing wholesale, wholetailing, flipping. Are you still using those three models in your business?
Yeah, those are our three primary models with the Senate House Buyers business. We have another business that we're in the process of getting off the ground right now. It's still in real estate, but it's basically going to be an investment fund.
Interesting. I'm blown away because it's if you think about it, it's been 2 years and 3 months, and you've done, if I add these right, 36 and 31, so that's 67 transactions.
Yeah.
That's I would applaud myself if I were you. That's absolutely outstanding.
Well, I appreciate it. I think I'm never 100% happy with what we do. I think there's always room for improvement, and I wish we had done 100 deals by this time this year. But I think with what we've done and the team that we have in place, I'm incredibly happy with what we've accomplished.
Sat down and said, with your dad, and this is what we're going to do in 2015?
Today being the start of Q4 for 2014, it's going to be time for us to sit down and go over those things. One of our goals for this year, which we actually just achieved, was to buy an office space and get the whole team moved into the new office space. That's going to happen. That'll probably be ready for us mid-November. And I think probably at about that time, we're going to sit down and map out what our goals are going to be for 2015. And not just that, but also what are we going to do to achieve those goals? Same thing we did last year. I would like to see us grow our number of purchases in the business by 50% next year. I think that's maybe slightly modest. I was hoping we would do double the business this year. So I'm hoping 50% next year. I would like to see our running backlog go up to about $5 to $6 million, basically current inventory that's either being rehabbed or on the market. And I want to see the investment fund come to fruition. We have $5 million we need to raise in that fund, and then you go out and buy 180 to 200 single-family homes for rental. And I think.
Hang on, hang on. Say that again, because I think one of the common conversations I have with folks is convincing them that it's real, that they can go from wherever they're at, whatever lifestyle that they have that they don't want anymore, and can actually see a future where they can do some really magical things in their life. And you just told me that one of your goals for 2015 was to have a real estate fund of $5 million so that you could go out and buy 150 to 200 rentals. Is that what you just said?
180 to 200 rentals, that's correct. And that's $5 million in equity that we're going to basically have to leverage that to $20 million.
It almost sounds impossible. It almost sounds, if I didn't know it was possible, it would sound impossible, if that makes any sense. Because there are people listening to this that can't even imagine going from zero to $5 million in a real estate fund in 3 years, 3.5 years. That
sounds pretty unbelievable.
Well, no, if you think about it, I mean, it's believable because I know you can do it, and it's believable because you know that you're doing it. If I had a conversation with you 3 years ago or 2 years ago and said 3 years or 2 years from now, you're going to be contemplating having a $5 million real estate fund, what would you have thought?
I thought you were a little overzealous.
Sometimes it does appear to be fantasy land. It's almost like those aren't real numbers, and sure, you're like, it's almost like the impossible and the boisterous numbers, and we make things up, but you're actually living it, you're actually doing it.
Well, I think that's important too. You make a good distinction with that, and I think this is something I preach to a lot of people when they're getting started in any business, when they're getting started in life, and that's to dream big. When I first started college, I said, you know what, my goal is to be making $100,000 a year by the time I'm 30. Okay, I achieved that goal by the time I was 26, or 27. I forget, 26 or 27, something like that. And I was like, dang, I really sold myself short on that one. I'm not going to do that again. So now I set really high goals, personal goals, professional goals, family goals, because I feel like that's the only way you're going to be able to push yourself and elevate yourself and the people around you to greatness.
Yeah, I think I'm a firm believer in little things like goals and the 6 aspects of life that you can set goals within, and little things like affirmations and positive behavior and abundance and prosperity. And it's real hard for me sometimes to communicate the power of an abundance mentality to someone who isn't experiencing abundance for themselves. I had a conversation yesterday with a very, 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 very intelligent individual who, for a career, what he did as a career, he was very good at it. Like you would call this person if you needed this craft done because he's that good. And he was having a real hard time with abundance. He's not feeling like he has any abundance. And I let him know that it's not real. It's just a word. It's abundance is what we believe it to be. And my abundance and somebody else's abundance are 2 different things. And I was trying to let him know that it's okay to not be a gazillionaire yet, but he will. And, be happy with the steps that you take as you climb this big mountain. Because there's always a mountain on the other side of the mountain.
All on the way up the mountain.
Let's go back and talk a little bit about the beginning, what it looked like as far as that call came in and how you captured it, how you worked it, and determining where the profitability was, and how that looks today. So in the beginning, I'm a seller. I called you. What did you do to me?
We had a explicitly written script that we would follow. Since we didn't have any experience really handling sellers' calls. And we would kind of ask you basic questions, and it was really all about the property in the beginning. We would always ask questions about the property. We didn't get very good at trying to determine whether or not they were motivated. But, you'd call in, we'd ask you some questions, and in the beginning, if there was any equity at all, or if there was no motivation, we were so new, we would go to every single person's house that called just to get experience standing in front of people, making low offers, building rapport, and having an understanding of the business. Because, when you're starting off, the first person you talk to, they're probably going to be able to notice that you're new and you may not know exactly what you're doing. But the 10th person, probably not. The 20th person, you get better. The 30th person, you're their best friend 10 minutes in. I guess that's the best way to put it, to keep practicing. So, the first deal, we're going in, we're asking questions. We don't really know exactly what we're doing, and we're gathering as much information as we can, and then we say, see ya. We go back to the office, and then we kind of game plan on it. I guess that's kind of how things were in the beginning.
What does it look like now?
Now we have a great acquisition manager who fields most of the phone calls, and he handles the phone calls like a pro. He's excellent at building a rapport. We're able to make offers on the spot, estimate repairs on the spot, make multiple offers on the spot.
Hang on. Are you doing this on the phone, or are you doing this at the location?
So it really depends. With the call volume that we get, we do the best we can to qualify motivation and equity over the phone. And if it's marginal, we'll go. If they call in and say they want $300,000 for their $100,000 house in that part of town, and we tell them that we may not be the best fit right now, they go into our follow-up system and they get a call from us in a month and see if they're a little bit more realistic. So we worked hard to systemize everything, put a process in place, and now we've got an acquisition manager to field those calls and put houses under contract. So it's a bit more streamlined, I guess is the best way to put it.
One of the things I did, and because I absolutely believe in exponential growth, and one of the ways we can have exponential growth is to get people to do things, those tasks that we hold dear to us that we think that we're the only ones that can do them. And so I'm a big believer in the buyer system. And for me, my buyer, they get $3,000 a month and $750 a deal. And we have guidelines on what makes and qualifies for a deal. And then we have a check and balance system, which is kind of cool. So when a deal is there, if one of 3 people who is our check and balance system kicks the deal for whatever reason, maybe they don't like the blue paint, then we honor that, and that deal goes away. But I'm also always asked that same question. Well, if you're teaching folks how to do this, aren't you just teaching your competitor? And I always looked at it from the other side of it. I want to have benchmarks out there because I don't look at competition as someone competing with me. I look at them as benchmarks. They're either where I've been or where I'm going. And to be able to see both sides of that, I think is pretty cool. So if I teach some guy how to use embedded commands and pacing, neurolinguistics, and what have you, and they go and do that in my own marketplace, I think that's friggin' fantastic. First of all, I can't buy the 21,000 houses in my marketplace that are prospects of mine. So I know that I'm not going to, and that means that he's not going to buy 21,000 either. So there's enough to go around. And in fact, in my yellow letter company, we have customers that heavily market in my area. And I support them. I help them do their mail. I congratulate them when I hear that they do deals. I'm not worried about it at all. But some people fear that, and I think that that's one of those fears that's just not a real fear. How do you feel about that? What's that been like for you guys?
I don't have that fear at all, and it goes to another level with me and the company because Matt, our acquisition manager, is also a friend of mine. We went to high school together, and we did a few deals together before he joined the company. Did some marketing together, worked the leads together, and then split the profits. If something were to happen where Matt had an opportunity to go out in the marketplace and start a business, I would be okay with that. I've invested in his success as a person as well, also invested in his success within our company. I'm going to do whatever I can to train Matt and work with Matt and to be successful within our business. We all work together as a team to define our processes and improve our sales ability and improve our buying ability. And I think you're right. A lot of people do worry about someone going off and competing against them. But, if they're a good person, and then all I can do is be happy for them.
Right.
And do everything I can to make sure that they have a workplace here that they love and people that they love and processes that they love, that they don't want to go anywhere else. And that they're compensated appropriately and that they understand the vision of the company so that they're invested in the profitability and the future of the company.
Right. And, there are two types of people, I think, in the world. I mean, yeah, there are all kinds of people, but there are basically two types. The one type enjoy and like the stability of working for a company. That's what they do. That's what they want to do. They don't ever focus their efforts on anything other than that opportunity. And then there's the other side of them, which are like you and myself, where we want to go out and create something. We want to figure out how to do something better, how to make something bigger. And we really need both types of those people. We need the entrepreneurs and we need the technicians and the managers. And I have found that managers and technicians don't want to be entrepreneurs. That's a side of life that they're not comfortable with, but they make very, very good technicians and managers. And so in reality, a really, really, really good buyer may never want to be his own buyer or her own buyer for their own, for their own profitability. Working for someone is what they want to do, and that's good. That's okay.
Right. And to add another level to that, with someone like Matt, he's not going to be a buyer in our company for the rest of his life. We're going off to starting a fund. I think there are a few other business ventures that we're going to go into that are real estate related, all of which are things that should they continue on the same path, projects that, our acquisition manager could be heavily involved with and could really take ownership of.
Right.
So,
well, the year that I did 200 deals, we had a company policy, and I thought it was pretty cool. Maybe I wasted money and maybe I gave money away, but who cares? We had a company policy that after 10 deals a month, so the first 10 deals didn't qualify, but after 10 deals a month, if an employee wanted to buy a deal, so we go out there, we get 14 deals under contract, we have 14 deals. The first 10, however they closed out, those were absolutely the company's. The 4 deals that were left over, if someone wanted to buy one of those deals from us, all they had to do was give me $10,000 more than I paid for it, and then they could take the deal and they could rehab it, they could resell it, they could do anything they wanted to it, but they could never pick the deal. So I didn't want anybody sandbagging deals, so what we would do is we closed 10 deals, we put 4 deals in the hat, they draw a deal out of the hat because theoretically all the deals are the same. they all have the same types of profitability to them. They draw a deal out of the hat, and if they wanted to buy that deal, give me 10 grand kind of thing. And it was good for the employee base because it allowed them to make more money. It allowed them to reap some of the rewards of what they've learned and stuff. But it also taught them it's a little bit harder than just what they're doing. Because you take your office manager who's really good at being an office manager, and that she's putting in depositing these huge checks every third day. That may look a little bit easy to her. That all you have to do is go out and buy houses and all that kind of stuff. Or you take the buyer that is locking houses up and they think it's real easy, but they forget that they're not actually taking money out of their wallet and buying these houses. Or you take the escrow coordinator who's managing the escrows, who's closing one every other day, and they're going, man, I can do this on my own. And they forget, well, I'm not talking on the phone to people. I'm not visiting houses. I'm not organizing the office. I'm just doing escrow coordination. So it was an enlightening experience for him as well. So, and I always had a rule, and maybe it was my stupid rule, but I always had a rule that everybody knew another task. So if your job was inbound phones, that's your job. You also could do somebody else's job. Now, it was relative. You couldn't do the office manager's job if you were inbound receptionist. But there was somebody else's tasks that they did on a daily basis that you knew how to do. And I did that because I needed to cover my base if someone was ill or sick or on vacation. Or if someone chose to leave me, that my business wouldn't fall down because my position left me. But I never trained everybody on everybody's job. I'm the only one that knows everybody's job. They can open up a systems manual and read the system on the job at hand. And as I'm a big systems guy, I believe that systems are important. It would be a big venture to go out there and tomorrow be a successful real estate investor in one day just by reading the systems manual. And you were talking about systemization earlier. How big of a part or role did that play in your guys' business or plays in your business?
Pretty big. Anytime we're finding a new way to do something, we write. The person who's responsible for kind of figuring that part out is also responsible for writing the manual on it, basically. And then if we need to make any changes to that, then of course we have to go back and change the process to it. So we've always kind of had the mindset that we want to, even though we're small, we want to have the mindset of a big company. And if we have to hire someone tomorrow to be our general contractor, that all the processes are taken care of. All we have to do is study the manual a bit, go out and spend some time with our project manager, and then, the process is already there.
It is amazing to me that people are in business without systems, that they're in business based upon what they remember to do or what they know to do. Because when that happens to us, when we're in that kind of a mindset, we can never go on vacation. Right. Because when we do, our business goes with us, which would be okay, right, I guess, if we wanted to buy houses in Jamaica, but we probably don't. And so I think systemization's a key component. So you buy these houses, you talk to these folks, you send a buyer out, you are either hoteling, wholesaling, or rehabbing. How do you sell? What platform are you using to turn the properties over? How do you find your buyer?
It really depends. So if it's our wholesale or retail properties, our rehab properties, flat fee list to the MLS, and my job has always been to handle the listings. So that's one way. The other way, for our wholesale properties, we have a buyers list in town. It's about 12,000 names or so of cash buyers in the Houston area that are either buying to flip or buying for buy and hold. Typically, I will say I like to sell our wholesale properties with a phone call or two. So if they don't sell to one of my repeat buyers, then they go out to the buyers list. And then we have a very professional email that we send out with all the relative information. If we've got contractor bids for any of the work that needs to get done, that's included in there, as well as, large, beautiful, clear pictures of the property. One thing we see a lot of in our market are wholesalers in the area that either are using Google Street View to take their pictures of the property or have, blurry pictures of the inside of the house where it's difficult for anyone to see anything. So we don't get to do it on every single property, but I'd say about 95% of the properties we send out, we have professional pictures that we can send out so people get a really good idea of all the work that the property actually needs to get done and the actual cost of what that's going to be. So,
do you divulge the address on the email?
Absolutely, every time.
So you're not afraid of another investor going behind you and taking your transaction that you haven't closed yet?
Yeah. Okay, I'll say this. No, I'm not worried about it because we build such a strong relationship with our sellers. We've had a number of people try to go around us unsuccessfully. And in the cases where the seller will actually go through and sign a contract with the other person that's trying to snake us on the deal, which has only happened to us twice, we have a process in place to stop that. We file a memorandum with the city on every single deal we do. So if someone tries to go around us and snake us on the deal, that basically clouds the title. So they have to call us to get the title in the cloud, and we say, well, we have half of the contract. So, nice job trying to screw us, but it's not going to work.
Right. And I guess you don't send that person the deal anymore. I mean, you take them off your buyer's list. And
not only are they off the buyer's list, but they're going to be named by name in many circles that I run in. Because as far as I'm concerned, that is horribly unethical.
Right.
It's not something I would want to do to one of my competitors. And you're blacklisted, in my opinion.
What's the one thing that, if I was new in the investment world or wanting to get started in the investment world, that you could tell me or share with me to do to help me become successful?
I think the best advice I could give, and this doesn't pertain exactly to investments, but it's something that I tell people who ask me that question, is to imagine what you want your life to look like. What's your ideal life? What kind of house do you have? What kind of car do you drive? How many children do you have? What are your hobbies? And try to imagine what that looks like. And then try to back out how to get there. And then, of course, relate it to real estate investment, whether you're wholetailing, or rehabbing. The reason I start so broad is to give them something to shoot for, to give you something to shoot for. Because if I just say, work hard in wholesaling or buy low, sell high, that's a skill that can be learned. I think it's tougher to have the vision to know exactly what you want your life to look like. And not everyone gets the opportunity to ask themselves that question or be asked that question. And if you're having a crummy day and you lost money or the phone's not ringing, if you can stay focused on the end goal, what you want your life to look like, how much vacation you have, you're always going to continue to hustle and work hard. Because whether you're in real estate, you're in business, you're at your job, whatever the case is, it's not going to be easy every day. Even when you make it, even when you think you've made it, it's not going to be easy every day. You have to have something, you have to have a reason to wake up and bust your butt and work harder than the next guy. So I think that's, I don't know. I hope I answered your question the way that you thought.
No,
that's really what I push for when people ask me that question. They're always looking for something like do a lot of direct mail or go out and do bandit signs or something like that. But I think the question is much bigger than that.
I'm an absolutely believer in setting goals and having a vision and envisioning what that is. So, like as an example for myself, I drive a nice car, and I know what my next car is going to be, and I know the date that I'm going to buy my next car, and I can smell it, I can taste, can't taste a car, but kind of thing. I can envision myself driving that car. And one of the things that I do, and that works well for me, is I share my goals with people around me. So I don't conceal them from people.
Thanks for listening to the Michael Quarles Real Estate Show. Get more info and stay in touch at michaelquarles.com.